Okay, so I want to talk about real quick, try and make a quick video about this, how the youth are being crushed right now. And just to give an idea of how this came about, um, I remember 2012, the election of 2012, and how the stock market and the economy was kind of stagnating at that time. Now that was Obama running for the second term. And a lot of what you heard at the time, a lot of the talking points were like, oh, the stock market, and oh, my 401k, and, basically boomers complaining about their 401k and their home equity and all that. And so at the time, Bernanke was the Federal Reserve chairman. Now, Bernanke, I don't know. I can't say he's worse than Yellen for sure as a Federal Reserve chairman, but Bernanke barely kept the system alive in 2008. Famously said that there was no subprime mortgage crisis as it was happening. But compared to Yellen, he was very conservative, and he wasn't willing to go pedal to the metal on quantitative easing and money printing, if you want to call it that. So when it came time for the 2012 election, a big campaign issue for everybody was the stagnating economy. The word jobless recovery, I don't even know if they were using the word jobless recovery at the time. At the time, it seemed like there hadn't been a recovery yet. If you look at the stock market charts, the stock market basically went nowhere. Okay, there was a couple big corrections during that time. And so when Obama got reelected, okay, he put in Janet Yellen. And Janet Yellen is basically a modern monetary theory proponent. And what she did was what she was supposed to do, what she was told to do, which was go pedal to the metal on quantitative easing, get those asset markets pumped up as soon as possible, because we need the boomers to vote for us in 2016, and they're not going to vote for us unless their 401ks look significantly better. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, underneath it all. And that kind of leads us to where we are now. First of all, as we saw in 2016, in the 2016 election, that basic monetary and economic policy tended to benefit people with money in the stock market, okay, and the very rich, okay. The poor, including African American communities, were not helped at all by those policies. But that's what Obama and Janet Yellen focused on, okay. And that leads us to where we are now, where housing prices are so high that a 20-something-year-old youth can't even afford to rent an apartment in a bad neighborhood. They're forced to stay with their parents. On top of that, a lot of them are buried in student loan debt. They got scammed into going to college, okay? And that whole scam goes back maybe 20 years. The idea was the government was going to back up student loans. The basic effect of that is that a pipeline was created directly from the government through government-backed debt instruments straight into academia. So basically that was a way of embezzling, of basically piping money directly to academia. And who gets stuck with the bill? The people who go to college, okay? So the youth are being crushed. They're being absolutely crushed right now, okay? These boomers, okay, will beat them to a pulp, okay? They don't care about their progeny. They don't care about the future of this country. What they care about is Social Security, they care about Medicare, and they care about getting their redemption from the loss in Vietnam. Okay, and I can't reiterate this enough. Okay, the boomers, the baby boomers, were subjected to relentless propaganda growing up about World War II and about, Russia, Soviet Union, and the Cold War. Their parents, a lot of them were involved in World War II. So around the dinner table, they had to listen day in and day out to these stories about Iwo Jima and about Bastogne, about D-Day, and all that. And they were kind of conditioned growing up into this idea that war is glorious, war is a struggle of good against evil, and then you have all of the propaganda against the Soviet Union. So I think a lot of them were conditioned into fighting a war eventually against an evil opponent. And what did they get? They got Vietnam, okay? And ever since then, they have been seeking redemption for that disastrous war, okay? Starting in the Persian Gulf War, okay? That was a highly celebrated victory, okay? But the problem with the Persian Gulf War was it wasn't a struggle. The boomers needed a struggle against evil, okay? So the Persian Gulf War didn't satisfy those conditions. It was too easy, okay? Too short. It wasn't a struggle. Then, because they were already getting too old, they lived vicariously through their children and sent them to Iraq Part 2 and Afghanistan, both of which were disasters. Redemption still not fulfilled. Okay, I am convinced, and whether they realize this in their heads or not, this is a fact. I am convinced that they are going to send their grandchildren now to a war and live vicariously through them. Okay? And who knows where it's going to be? Is it going to be Taiwan? Is it going to be Russia? Is it going to be somewhere else? Who knows? But they will, okay, through their electoral power, okay, they're going to vote just like they did with Biden, okay? They're going to vote for a warmonger president, okay? And they're going to get their children sent to a war zone. And they're going to try and live vicariously through them. Okay, and it's going to be a complete disaster. So my message to the youth, and I'm going around and I'm talking to all of them, I'm saying, you got to go out there and vote for your interests, because if you guys sit around and do nothing, the boomers will absolutely crush you. They will crush you, and then they're going to call you lazy to your face after they crush you, okay? While they're doing nothing and collecting Social Security and Medicare that you're paying for, they're going to crush you and they're going to call you lazy, okay? I don't know about RFK yet, but RFK Junior looks pretty legit, okay? I'm telling them about RFK. Look into RFK, okay? The one good thing about the youth, the thing that gives me a lot of hope, is they don't watch TV, they don't get into the TV propaganda, and that's a big plus, okay? But that's my message to the youth, okay? You're being crushed, you're being played, get out there, okay? Vote for your interests, okay? Even though, and I was talking to a kid just now, I'm like, I usually don't vote, but I'm telling this kid to vote, whatever, okay? I didn't say, I'm a walking contradiction, I'm a madman, but it's a fact. The boomers are going to crush the youth until they go out there and they say no more, okay? And that's it. I'm out.